Okay, here's an update. I know it's been a while, but I've been busy. Didn't want to stop to make videos and edit videos, so I've just been working away on the layout here. Kind of where we last left off was this area being built here. No, there's no tracks up there. I've just put some trains up there for something to look at. But if you start over here in this first aisle, you can see the lighting is going up. Still haven't painted anything, still sanding. I actually haven't done this in a while, but this is all ready for paint. I think we're going to build a shelf over here, and then there'll be a curtain that comes down to cover all that. That is just temporarily hanging there right now to get some lights in here. But you can see the lights up here are now working. Started laying ties up here. So haven't really been up here much lately because I've been working on the other side. Getting down and getting a turnout ready. This is an old turnout I'm taking apart, trying to use the pieces over again, and there'll be another turnout up there. So we'll go down here, come down the steps here, and then we'll look over here. You can see I've got ties in, staining has started. We'll get back to that someday, explain what's going on there that's special or different, maybe not special. And you can see I've got the ties now going up the grade. I've got all the risers permanently in. This area here will be a bridge, so I'm going to make a piece of, make that all out of foam so that I can come out and I can detail all that in there. It'll just sit on that ledge there. Same thing over here. Be another bridge in there. But the big thing probably has been the almost completion of the rest of the bench work here. And you can see I've got the platform coming in between this section, which I've been calling walls. There's two of them, one over there, one here, and they hold up the end of the other part of the layout. And you can see the hole for the drop bridge that'll go over, and eventually a hole there, but get back to that in a minute here. So I've run the steps farther out here. Originally the platform was going to end, the steps are going to be back here right as you came out of that opening from cliff top and step down, because I thought then that I'd want to be down on the main floor where the bridge was. But what I found is that when I had a temporary platform in here working on the upper level here, I really liked the view down in here. And so I extended the platform out farther here so you could actually stand here and watch your train come up that grade and around the kind of S curves. This will all be high hills coming way up here, and then that'll fall off down there. I'm thinking about sawing off this corner right here so that the hill falls completely down in there. And then the difference would be is that this area would no longer be open. I would just, the scenery would come down here and this would stay kind of hidden, and then somehow I'd get rid of this piece here, and I would have the train somehow come out behind a rock, so that way I don't have a tunnel portal, and that's probably going to happen. This won't be a double level here anymore. Trains will be hidden somewhere in here for a couple of feet, which is fine. There's nothing in here to do. There's nothing's going to happen to it. So you can see what it would have maybe been like if I turn this around was going to look something like that. But now I think I'm going to bring this, take this down here instead of coming up high here, and bring this hill all the way down and not have this tunnel here, because the railroad really didn't have any tunnels. And so that kind of bothered me that was going to have to be a tunnel there. Not only would have been one tunnel there, but there would have been a tunnel back as it came out through that wall there. And so this way, if I can swing that track, maybe here, and then come this way, I can maybe put something here to block you from being able to look in and see that it's actually coming out of a hidden area. I could probably do that with trees and rocks and make it pretty effective. There would have been no way to hide a tunnel here. It would have been obvious. You're standing here looking this way. At least on this side, it's harder to lean over and look around. So that's why I haven't finished the roadbed here. I've stopped back here. Speaking of the roadbed, you can see I did get the steel wire in here in a groove. I make a groove in there by putting masonite in between the two outer and the two inner splines, and then I pushed in this wire in here. It's a steel wire I got. Came on a roll. Looks like this here. Straighten it out, pushed it in there, and then now I've got that down. You can see it under the ties in there. These ties are sanded off because I've leveled all those. So what I do is I first stain them, and then I sand them, and it reveals the high spots and the low spots, and you keep sanding until they're all the same color, and then I'll go back and, like here, you can see a low spot right here. And if you can't sand that out, what I'll usually do is just glue another tie on top of it and then sand it until it's all level. We'll see how bad that one is. It looks like it was just starting to sand, so it's probably okay. But then I'll just stain the tops of these real quick. It goes pretty fast. But I'll have to do that, all back in there and all up there. The lights are in up here too, although this section I haven't wired up yet. It's still not wired up. Or it's wired, it's just I haven't soldered the last joint. I got that piece up there, but I have to get the fascia on it here that comes down. That worked out well here. This here will have, the fascia coming down from here, and if I make this a hill, it'll just keep coming down now all the way down to here. And then this will have a nice piece that wraps up, curves around here. And then I'm just going to put a little fillet down onto there to kind of finish it off nice. Paint the bottom of this black here. This works out well. It's 3/4 inch plywood, and then I put this 1x2 on here to really brace it up. It's really solid. It shouldn't go anywhere. So we come up here, and this is just sitting down to this piece of scenery from the old layout. This will be the junction where the two tracks will go through there. This will be hidden. There'll be a fascia piece that comes down like this, and you'll only be able to see the tracks curving off. And then of course there'll be a backdrop up there that curves around and onto this wall, and then I'll blend that all right here. And I'll have to finish the ceiling in here with some more 1/4 inch sheetrock in there. So if we come in here, so I built the two platforms. There's the one here, the big one, and then you can see the one over there in the Landisburg area. And this one I actually built lower because I thought I wanted it lower, and then I realized after I built it I wanted it back up to where I originally thought. So now I'm putting some temporary 2x4s in here just to check it, but I'll have to go and now put a whole layer of them underneath there, because now it kind of creaks as I walk on it because it's not totally braced. And the step that you can see right there is not attached to it, so it's kind of hairy over there walking. The carpet's just laying there and cut. It's not fastened down yet either on both these platforms, because I'm going to recarpet 2 rooms upstairs, and I'll take the padding out from those rooms and put them in here and put good padding upstairs. But as we walk up here, so when you come up these steps in this little hallway here, you have your little opening in here to go into cliff top, or you go down there, so you're underneath that. There's the breaker box, and that'll go down and around the corner into Landisburg. And then you can see a little opening right here. I'll have a little door or a curtain on there, and that'll allow me to come down in here and actually go underneath this section of the layout here. And this will make a great storage area. I can put stuff in here. We have these nice areas of tall spaces in here. So I can have this for material storage or just whatever. I don't know what I can do in there. I even actually thought about putting like a little dispatcher's desk and chair in here and have maybe somebody work in here as a job. Be kind of a fun thing to do. Anyways, let's go back up here to the cliff top area here, and you can see all the bench work is in. I just started on the backdrop. That's the actually backdrop on the other side. There'll be one on this side too. So the trains will come in from there, and they'll curve and you kind of emerge out of some scenery and come into this space here. And then they'll just wrap around in here. There's still a board that's got to be put on that goes diagonally across here, but I didn't put it on to make it easier to reach across and put the backdrop up. So we'll come in here. strip tip will be here, car shops will be here, and then I'd really like to have the company store where it would have been back there, but I don't think it's going to work. It's just way too small, so I'm going to put it out here, and this will be the backdrop. Will then curve in front of all this here and come across there. So now if we go and we leave this area, so there's going to be sides on these two things here. The fascia will go all the way down to the floor, come all the way up, and make a nice another little kind of mini hallway right here. You put boards down on each side to stiffen that up so people can't kick that if they walk through there. So we'll come out and go down through here, past the circuit breaker, and again the stair is not attached, but we'll come up in here. There'll be this wall here will continue diagonally to that step there, and then go that way. So it'll be straight up here, straight up there, which will be matching this piece of the fascia here. It'll come here, and then they'll come here, and those pieces will go all the way down. And so you walk up into this area here. And this is a little bit creakier in here because it's just temporarily sitting here, but the tracks will come out through here, down onto here, and then this piece of roadbed you see here with tracks on, this is from the very first ON3 layout. It's a piece I saved. This turnout's going to come out of here, and this will just get sawed off here. And then these tracks will go, kind of around. It's going to play in with this piece of homoset spline. It'll curve around and go up into there. It's going to be on a slight, ever so slight grade coming up through here, but it's not enough, I don't think, to make the cars roll. And here's where that tipple on the old layout was, and I think I'll still make that a tipple. And I was going to put the company store here, but I think I'm going to move it here, or here, somewhere in here. And I think I'm going to make this the edge of the log pond somehow. Even though it won't be functional, I'm not going to actually focus on the logging or unload log cars, but this could simulate that track. I'll have to kind of get creative with how I hide that if I do that. If I put a tipple here, that kind of solves it, because there was going to be a store here and trees and whatever. But I may change that, I'm not sure. And this turnout that I was going to take out actually gets flipped around, so instead of going off this way, it's going to go this way, cut through here, and then into the drying yard. That's going to be right in here in this area. But you can see the backdrops. I actually just put this up last night. Curves around, kind of ended here. Got the piece cut for here, but I haven't ran out of time last night, but that'll curve off and it'll come out to meet this edge right about here. So curve around there. So I've made a lot of progress, but I've got to talk about something back here because we haven't quite looked at that yet. And that's the original dump section here. So I did saw the end off here because you can see it's going to go, don't worry about the way that looks, that's just temporarily just leaning in there to help support that while I was getting it attached to the ceiling. That'll come out of there, and I'll make I'll finish it off as being the bench work, but you can see it's going to go down this way and kind of hit that wall right there, and that'll be the backdrop that'll curve in, and then you can see the bracings underneath here for that backdrop, so it'll all just kind of curve on and go down there. But after I cut this piece off here to make that angle fit, and I pulled up the tracks here, and then I realized that all this from here over is going to have to be taken out because this track has to curve and go down that way, where on the old layout it curved, came around this way. And I kind of knew that was going to happen, but now that I'm actually looking at it, and the fact that I want to continue the third rail up and into the dump shed like it would have been, and technically the third rail came out on this side, this turnout was going to have to be rebuilt, that turnout rebuilt, that turnout rebuilt, all that scraped up. The only thing that was going to be left by the time I was done was going to be those tracks from there over. And so it really got me thinking that by the time I redo all that stuff and try to scrape that and get the scenery out of there, maybe I just better start fresh, which is a really hard thing to accept because of the work it took to save this, from get it out of the old house, haul it here in a snowstorm, get it into this house, put it in a room for 3 years, cut a hole in the wall to move it in here, now just to say, I'm not going to use it. It's a hard thing to do. But there's just so much. Even this is going to have to be redone. That's got to come out of there. This has got to get patched. It just, by the time I do all that patchwork, I could have built a new one. And so if I do that, which I'm really leaning towards, this whole thing is going to get changed too. This track will not be here. The main line will be farther over this way. And instead of the track going to the Tipple being straight, I want to make the curve in it that the real one actually had, where it came out on a real sharp S curve. It was so sharp they had guardrails on there. And so I kind of want to model that look of that going out onto the trestle. And then if I move this back this way a little bit so that structure's here, I can take that unloading shed and move it in line on the same track like the prototype would have been, rather than having it be that stub end. And that, I really like the idea of having that not be a stub end and being in line with the same, on the same trestle. Now the prototype would have came back in and then kind of came back out, but I don't have that much room to do that. I almost do that. If I move that structure down there, I could do it, but then I can't make the curve to go down the hill. The other thing is this would be taken out and it would be moved down the hill like it would have been. And then the water tower will be here in this corner instead of being somewhere over here where I was going to put it, which would have been the wrong location. And so what will happen is this track will then, instead of being here, will be more out here, and it'll be probably following somewhere out here to make that swing around there, and then go back in towards the backdrop, around the engine house and around the coke office, and then down into the yard down there at Sewell. So that's probably going to happen. It's kind of a bummer in a way because there's some sentimental value in here, but I think in the end it'll make a better model, and I'd rather have it be a better model than to try to save this. So that's the progress for now. Sorry I didn't post one earlier, but I've been working a lot on this.